So this is how it begins. Not with confetti, not with roaring applause, but with a groan, a gasp, and a devastating headline that tore the heart out of an entire city. The WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis was supposed to be a coronation. Caitlin Clark's moment under the brightest lights in her own backyard. The city was ready. The fans were eager. The league had set the stage for what should have been a historic celebration. But instead, all they got was silence, confusion, and the bitter sting of betrayal. Because just days before tip-off, news broke that shattered everything. Caitlin Clark, the league's most electrifying rookie and the face of its future, wouldn't be playing. A groin injury had sidelined her, and in an instant, the anticipation that had been building for months came crashing down. Ticket holders panicked. Fans flooded social media, devastated and furious. What was supposed to be a sold-out spectacle now had the feel of a funeral. The buzz vanished, the lights dimmed, and Indianapolis, once a city on fire, suddenly froze over. It wasn't just disappointment. It was revolt. The phrase spread like wildfire. No Caitlin, no game. And it wasn't just a hashtag. It was a movement. Fans didn't just stop caring. They walked away, canceled flights, refunded hotel rooms, sold their tickets at a loss, or tossed them all together. This wasn't a minor star missing a game. It was the main character being erased from the climax of the story. And without her, the WNBA's dream weekend turned into a nightmare. The league didn't just lose a player. It lost its audience in real time. And the message was loud and clear. Clark wasn't just another name on the roster. She was the reason fans showed up. The entire All-Star weekend was supposed to revolve around her brilliance, her story, her spotlight. But when she disappeared, so did everything else. Empty seats, silent arenas. The league had gambled everything on a superstar and then failed to protect her. And here's the brutal irony. Caitlin Clark's injury wasn't just unfortunate timing. It was a result of a long brewing storm that the league refused to face. Because this groin strain didn't come out of nowhere. It came from months of relentless physical play, dangerous fouls, and unchecked aggression that left her body battered and her fans furious. The WNBA didn't just lose its star, they broke her. Before the injury, Caitlin Clark was the engine driving an economic miracle. Every Indiana Fever home game had sold out. Cities across the country felt her impact, with ticket prices reaching record highs. Restaurants, hotels, merch stands, all booming thanks to one player. She wasn't just boosting viewership. She was revitalizing entire local economies. And Indianapolis, her home stage, was set to become ground zero for the biggest all-star event the league had ever seen. Shops were brimming with Clark merchandise. Banners hung from every corner. Businesses hired extra staff. It was all in motion until it wasn't. The moment her absence was confirmed, the entire machine ground to a halt. Prices tanked. Merch went unsold. Reservations were canceled. What was supposed to be a celebration turned into a slow-motion implosion, felt in every corner of the city. Ticket scalpers who had once listed seats for hundreds, even thousands, began begging for buyers at $64 a pop, but there were no takers. The momentum that took months to build evaporated in mere hours. And for the first time, the league was forced to stare into a mirror and ask a terrifying question. What are we without Caitlin Clark? The answer? A fragile illusion. The glitz, the numbers, the headlines, all depended on her. And when she was gone, the illusion shattered. This wasn't just about one game. It was about the cold, hard truth the WNBA had been trying to avoid, that all of its recent success was balanced precariously on the back of one rookie. And when she fell, everything else followed. That's not growth, that's dependence. And it exposed a deep structural flaw in the league strategy. Because when one player's absence can topple an entire event, economically, emotionally, and visually, it's no longer just about basketball. It's about accountability. It's about protection. It's about the cost of turning your brightest star into a human shield for a league desperate for relevance. Let's not forget, this injury didn't come from a freak accident or a single unlucky twist. It was the culmination of a season's worth of abuse. Caitlin Clark had become the WNBA's most visible target. Opponents weren't just offending her, they were punishing her. And the referees? They were complicit, standing by with silent whistles as she was shoved, hacked, and slammed game after game. Stats don't lie. Clark absorbed 20% of the league's flagrant fouls. That's not coincidence. That's systemic. And some of the worst hits came from players like Angel Reese, who didn't just foul her, but mocked her afterward. It wasn't competition. It was intimidation. And in any other workplace, it would be considered harassment, plain and simple. The visual evidence is everywhere. Arms grabbed, back shoved, elbows flying. And yet, night after night, the refs just watched. The hits kept coming, and the whistles stayed silent. It became a strategy. Hurt Clark and get away with it. A culture was forming, and the league did nothing to stop it. Coach Stephanie White saw it. She called it out again and again. She knew her star was being treated differently and dangerously, but the league ignored her. The officiating never changed. The abuse never stopped. And now we're here. Groin injury, out of the game. And the All-Star event she was born to lead, reduced to a cautionary tale. It wasn't just a Caitlin Clark problem. It was a league-wide failure. One that exposed how quickly the WNBA will cheer for a star, but not stand up for her. And the worst part? Everyone saw it coming. Everyone, except those in charge. The Washington Post didn't mince words. They called the WNBA's officiating a disaster. They joked that the league should change its logo to a bruise, and its slogan to no call. And it wasn't far from the truth. When a league allows its brightest talents to get trampled without consequence, it's not just a bad look. It's a dangerous precedent. But it's not just Clark anymore. Sophie Cunningham, another Fever player, has now become one of the most foul players in the league, right behind Caitlin and Aaliyah Boston. It's like wearing a Fever jersey makes you a target. The refs are quick to whistle the Fever for minor touches. But when their stars get crushed, nothing. This isn't coincidence. It's a pattern. A lopsided, maddening, and frankly disgraceful pattern. And it's turning the Indiana Fever into the most abused team in professional basketball. The fans see it. The players feel it. And yet, leadership stays silent. No accountability. No change. Just more bruises and more excuses. Across sports history, legends are protected. In the NBA, refs whistle fast to protect stars like Steph Curry or LeBron. In the NFL, quarterbacks are treated like royalty. But in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark is getting the opposite treatment. She's being punished for being popular, crushed for drawing attention, and no one in the league office seems to care. The numbers are shocking. In the past 2.5 seasons, the WNBA has reported 57 head and neck injuries. That's not bad luck. That's negligence. And for guards like Clark, smaller, faster, more agile, the risk is even higher. They're the ones getting slammed the hardest, and the league refuses to intervene. Lisa Leslie knows this pain, a WNBA icon. She's seen what Clark is going through and knows exactly how dangerous a groin injury can be. It doesn't heal easily. It lingers. It haunts. And it changes careers. One sharp move, one twist, one dive, and it flares up again. It's the kind of injury that steals time, robs momentum, and leaves scars you can't tape up. Clark's not just fighting her opponents anymore. She's fighting her own body. And she's doing it without the protection, without the support, without the respect she's earned. The WNBA let this happen. And now they're watching her suffer, while pretending it's all part of the game. And while all of this chaos was unfolding, where was WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert? Where was the leadership? Where was the accountability? Fans were protesting. Ticket sales were crashing, and the biggest weekend of the season was falling apart. But Engelbert offered nothing but corporate jargon and recycled buzzwords. She gave interviews about constructive conversations and shared goals, while fans begged for justice. Not once did she admit the officiating was a problem. Not once did she address the abuse Clark endured. It was a masterclass in deflection and a disaster in leadership. Players were speaking out. Coaches were risking fines. Fans were boycotting. And yet, Engelbert stayed the course. No apologies, no promises, no solutions. Just empty words while the heart of the league lay in recovery, sidelined, bruised, and ignored. Her response didn't just fall flat. It poured gasoline on the fire. Instead of uniting the fan base, it divided it further. Instead of leading with courage, she led with silence. And that silence became the loudest message of all, that the league values its image more than its integrity. The All-Star Game was supposed to be a celebration. It became a funeral. And the league's tone-deaf leadership was the final nail in the coffin. The disconnect goes deeper than just Engelbert. Fans see what's happening on the court and what isn't happening in the replay center. Why is it that when Breanna Stewart or Aya Wilson takes contact, the free throw line lights up, but when Aaliyah Boston gets hammered, she's on the bench with foul trouble? It's a double standard, and fans aren't blind. They're fed up. If you're wearing an Indiana Fever jersey this season, you're playing against two opponents, the team on the floor and the referees in stripes. And the consequences aren't just losses, they're injuries. Real, painful, career-threatening injuries. Caitlin Clark got hurt because the league failed her. And when that happened, the fans had seen enough. They stopped showing up. They stopped tuning in. The league's golden moment turned to dust in real time. The WNBA keeps saying they want growth. They want respect. But when their most bankable star gets broken on national television with no calls, no protection, and no support, it tells the fans everything they need to know. This isn't about basketball anymore. It's about survival. The All-Star Game was a joke. The 4-point shot gimmick made it worse. No defense, no passion, just half-court chucking and awkward smiles. Fans came for a battle, they got a scrimmage. And the only headline anyone cared about? A mascot recruiting Caitlin Clark during warm-ups. That was the highlight. Not the game, not the players. A mascot, even Aaliyah Boston, an Indiana hero, looked frustrated. The disrespect was everywhere. The distractions were nonstop. And through it all, the league smiled for cameras like everything was fine. But it wasn't. The damage was done, and the trust was broken. And that's where the story takes a darker turn. Because this wasn't just a misstep. This was a betrayal of everything fans believed the league was building. Caitlin Clark wasn't a side act. She was the act. And the All-Star Game was her moment. Her storybook returned to Indiana, her chance to shine in front of the hometown crowd that had loved her long before the national spotlight found her. But the league, through its silence and negligence, ripped that away. Not just from her, but from every fan who waited all season for this night. And the most crushing part? It didn't have to be this way. The groin injury that sidelined Clark wasn't random. It was a physical embodiment of months of ignored warning signs. Red flags waving furiously in the wind, while the league looked the other way. How many times did she hit the floor? How many times was she shoved, grabbed, hacked, and dropped without a whistle in sight? Every no call was a brick in the wall that eventually collapsed on her. The referees didn't just fail to protect her, they greenlit the abuse. And when she fell, so did everything the WNBA claimed it stood for. Because let's be honest, this wasn't about a game. This was about trust. Fans had finally bought in. They had shown up in record numbers. They had worn the merch, reposted the highlights, paid the money, flown across states just to witness history. And the WNBA had everything it needed. Momentum, visibility, and a superstar carrying the league into the future. But instead of building around her with protection and care, they used her like a battering ram and then left her to deal with the aftermath alone. That's not growth. That's exploitation. The proof? Just look at what the fans did. They didn't just complain online. They acted. They boycotted with their wallets. They walked out. They stopped showing up, not because they didn't care, but because they did. And when they saw how the league treated its biggest star, their star, they realized it could all come crashing down at any moment. And it did. That arena in Indianapolis wasn't just full of empty seats. It was full of broken promises. And now the league faces a reckoning. Because this wasn't just about losing one game or even one weekend. It was about exposing how fragile the WNBA's foundation really is. Strip away the highlight reels, the flashy promos, the social media buzz, and what's left? A league that let its most valuable player get broken under its watch. A league that couldn't rise to meet the moment it had been gifted. And now, with Caitlin Clark injured, with fans outraged, and with its crown jewel event reduced to a national punchline, the WNBA has to answer one question. What now? Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player. She was the movement, the momentum, the spark. And when the league failed to protect her, they didn't just lose a superstar, they lost their soul. The All-Star Weekend didn't reveal a league on the rise. It revealed a league in denial. And the fans? They got the last word. Empty seats, slashed ticket prices, canceled plans. They spoke with their wallets and their silence. They were tired of being ignored, tired of being fed lies. And they made sure the world knew it. No Caitlin, no game. So now the question isn't whether Clark will return to form. The question is whether the WNBA will. Because right now the clock is ticking. The fans are watching. And the league's next move might just decide its future.